love this song. I love this game. I love the soundtrack to this game. It's me! Hi friends, how's it going? How are we all doing? How are things? It's still Monday, unfortunately. It's an Emmy. It's a Fruity. It's a Jody. It's a Friends. Hi friends. Howdy. We're got more Vampyr tonight. We got more spooky Vampyr tonight. I don't remember what happened last time. It's been near a dang week since we played. I think... Right! We were trying to figure out who was blackmailing the pretty lady. Whose name I cannot remember. I just remember she was real pretty. And then we killed a racist landlord. And it was good. And it was good. Man. What a good time. But yeah, how's everyone doing tonight? How are things going? How are you? I need to stop saying it like that, but I'm not gonna. I'm never gonna stop. Oh. Come here, microphone. I need you closer. Specifically for this. Grip it and rip it! Yeah. Yeah. That's about all I got. I'm excited to keep playing. I'm hoping my energy will pick up as we continue on. But it might be like a super low energy day today. And that's fine. We're okay with that. They can't all be bangers, right? What am I doing with my life? Let's go ahead. Just need to eat some more landlords. It's true, it's true. Landlords are my power. Specifically, eating landlords. Let's go eat some more landlords. It's that whole eat the rich thing. I wouldn't necessarily say all landlords are rich, but they're just as gross. Woo, it's our boy! We leveled up last time. Don't need to do that again. I do need to remember how to play, though. So that'll be fun. Ooh, we gotta go talk to Thelma. Just the usual nonsense that I say anyway. I mean, you're used to it. But no, we're playing Vampyr. We are a vampire. We're gonna crack open a boy, shotgun him for his blood. Not Luigi's Mansion. I think we're gonna finish that on Friday. Like, I think we're gonna be done with Luigi's Mansion on Friday, which is weird. Nope, still vampy. Still vampy, always vampy.
You have the right to disapprove of our methods, and you will kindly apologize when you're feeling better.
Are you giving Strickland some lip? What are you doing? I did it, Travis. I said it properly. Hi, friend. Alright, well, we're just gonna pretend that never happened, and we're gonna go find Thelma and tell her that we know what's up. Oh, this fucking bitch. God, everything's coming back to me. Thelma, there you are. My dear.
Good evening, Miss Howcroft. How are you tonight?
I need blood, Doctor. Warm, rich, vibrant blood.
Hold on, sorry. There are like crumbs? There are crumbs under my mouse pad, and I don't know how or why. But I need to get them off my desk so that I'm not rolling over any bumpies. About the men who were trying to attack
about the men who were tracking you, Miss Howcroft.
Tracking,
I
not
did
attacking.
not expect a mortal to have this sort of courage. Speak. Doctor.
I'm a pretty alright
Why
dude.
are they hunting me down?
If I say so myself.
It was a misunderstanding. These hunters were in fact looking for a very different creature, but they mistakenly put their sights on you.
I knew it. I have become undone. Those hunters have discovered me, but they don't know what I'm capable of.
If you'll accept some advice from a petty mortal, I think you should assume a low profile and just quietly
Thelma, I said
disappear
that
into the shadows.
they thought...
You are right. And you have served me well, mortal. Take this as a reward for your time.
And then she bites me.
Perhaps I will allow you to drink deep of my blood. One day.
Thank you. I'll keep that proposition in mind.
Watery, rich blood sample. Beautiful. Love it. Tell me about Thomas Elwood?
Tell me, Thelma, why do you feel so attached to Mr. Elwood?
No.
Why
So
him?
Thelma is convinced that she's a real vampire.
Sure, Doctor.
And she thinks
think we
that
have a
we're
bond of
immortal
some
and we're
sort.
just rolling with it.
We've both suffered so
Because
much.
there's
He's
no
the only
point.
mortal I find interesting.
Oh? Oh?
Would you say you and Mr. Elwood are romantically involved?
No.
I ship it.
No, Thomas is a delicate soul.
She handed me watery blood.
But I am not the woman he needs. No, for I am a vampire, Doctor.
Do you plan to make him
I
a
love
vampire
Thelma,
too?
regardless
Of
of
course not.
whether she's a
How could I
vampire or
inflict
not.
my curse on anybody else? I'm not that cruel, Doctor.
Alright, alright. Get out of here.
Mistress of the Dark, to your nocturnal activity.
It's a weird zoom on her, but alright. Oh no, do we gotta go back? I don't want to go back to Whitechapel. Okay, I guess we gotta. That is where we found the racist landlord. So mayhaps we will find some more. District status, still serious. There's a bad skull up there. Let's not go up that way. No, no. I don't remember how to fight. What's in here? Hello? Are there things in here? Goodies? Treats? There was just some money. That's all. Yes, because I am the most diplomatic of creatures. What are you doing? Can we? Oh!
No shipping allowed, sir.
Okay, I'm not here. You can't see me. Can we maybe just...
It's one of them!
Ouch! Hey, maybe don't.
Hey, boys! Got one over here!
Let me do a bite! Please! Thank you! I know what's happening. Everything is fine. Don't even worry about it!
Grenade! Let's pin him down!
Why is that? We're just doing a fight. Boy is gassy. That's what's happening there. Stop shooting me. I do genuinely find the combat a little annoying. Stop! Stop! Because it's like, no matter where I am in an action, they're always gonna give... Hold on, we got that heal, don't we? But yeah, it's like, no matter what, they're gonna hit me. And that's kind of unfortunate. Like, I will be in the middle of an attack animation, and then they're like, no, I think they're gonna stop you. But if I attack them while they're in an attack animation, they just act like it's fine. I don't like that. So we'll just do a chomp a little bit. It's fine. I'm glad that I do remember how to combat, though. That's great. We love that for us. But yeah, don't even worry about it. It's fine. Can I go in here? Where's our map? No, stop. No, stop. The fartiest of boys. Can I... There was another dumb marker on the map somewhere. There it is. Fucking hell. But you gotta get new internet, Jody. Your internet sounds miserable. F. F to remove. I need to go further down the lane? Are we going the right way? I have no idea which way we came from, but this is where the marker is.
There's more and more of these bloody leeches every night. Aye. Gods recruit more and more. I'd step back, sir.
Nah. Nah. Please, please, please. Please. Stop. Stop! I want you to aim for the one that I was aiming at! Oh my god. Get over there and do a chomp. Oh my goodness.
Oh my god!
It's fine. Don't even worry about it. It's a fucking nightmare, honestly. Again, because it's like the way that you change the way that they have you change target is literally just moving your mouse. And it's like, even if I'm holding still, sometimes it's just like, no, I think we're gonna target someone else now. And it's like, but I didn't wanna. I wanted to target the one that I was targeting. Here we go. It's fine. We'll get through it. Everything will be okay. Just until then. Stop! Stop! You should be staggered! I blood ribboned you! I don't give a shit if your name is Roger the Wall. Like... Stop. Sir. We'll just keep going around in circles until I can get a chomp done on ya. It's fine. We are... Hey, Bo! How's it going? We are back on the cottage cheese discourse. This is what we do on the weekdays now. Fucking hell. Get the fuck away from me! Oh my god. We did it. We did it! I'm just gonna yell at them constantly. Tell them how bad they are. How much I hate them! And then we'll do a murder and it'll be fine! I'm doing pretty alright! Yeah, we're getting through. We're making it through, you know. How are you doing, friend? How's it going? No, I mean, my day hasn't been terrible. It's just, it's been a rough couple of weeks. I feel like it's been a rough few weeks for a lot of us. The week is just looking like it's going to continue in that direction for me, which is unfortunate. But we'll make it work. We'll deal. We'll get through it. We've been through it before. We'll do it again. But yeah. I mean, I'm not complaining about having a good time here. Honestly, I look forward to streams. Hi Devo. I look forward to streams. This is like one of the few things that I can do at the moment that is genuinely just like
somehow to the
delightful. I mean, shit's been stressful on Twitch lately, as I'm sure we all know. But even with that, it's still just like, I love y'all, and I like hanging out, and I like sharing games, and so it's fine. New phone! Upgraded phone! It's gonna take ya all 24 hours to get used to it. Or at least get the settings the way that you like it. But that's super exciting! Eee! Who are you? Man, wear a mask! I'm proud of ya. But that's super cool. Right though? Like...
Stop it now, Albert! Stop it!
Oh! I was gonna tell him to hug it out! Hey! But yeah, no, like I've met so many cool people on Twitch, and it's just been really wonderful. Are you the one that got shot?
Are you all right?
The bastard hit the wall next to me. I don't even know if he meant to miss.
If you've been hurt, I can help you. I'm a doctor.
Name's Albert.
I can do
Remember
chomp
it.
on ya.
Now bugger off.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've talked about it quite a lot. But like, I mean, I've identified as some kind of queer kid for years now, but it's not been until I like started streaming and specifically met Cyril and Dougie that I actually finally felt like I was a part of the LGBTQ plus community. And it's been really wonderful and like validating, and there's just so many beautiful, amazing, just wonderful people that I've met, and I love all of you. My God, never stop being amazing human beings.
Did you really steal that man's medication?
Hey, I didn't do anything. It ain't me.
Stoked to learn and grow and become better people with all y'all. Anyway. Hi! What are you doing? Yeah? Hi, sweet boy. Do you want to go lay down on the couch? Hold on a second. Devo, come here. Come here. Come here. Up here. Good boy. You lay down. Hey, sweet boy. You gonna lay down? Be comfy. You're not gonna stay up there, but I could try. Oh, thanks. Is this how you TikTok? Is this how you do the TikToks? Oh, hi, cat fur. Get out of here. You've had all morning to snuggle with me, but you've been MIA, buddy. I'm sorry. This is the life that I live with. These are the animals that I have.
All right. Perhaps
only when I start doing something that they're like, me, pay attention to me.
You ain't got no clue what's going on here. Bastard was a soldier in the war, so now he's got the right to shoot me.
It's true. I'm not familiar with this part of town. Perhaps you could help me.
I said sod off. Go find yourself another guide.
Nope, it's you, Albert. You're my guide. Yeah, I don't know that I'm gonna make a ton of TikToks. I'm mostly there just to endlessly scroll through dumb videos. But maybe you'll get a cat video every so often. a dumb metal video. It's gonna be great. Ooh, hiccups. I have no hints for him.
Do you know Nurse Dorothy Crane from the Pembroke
Nothing's stopping ya.
If you know anything about her, I'd appreciate it.
Never heard of her. She's pretty, I'll keep an eye out.
I have a TikTok now, Travis. I love that though. Yeah, no, again, like a lot of the people that, I don't know, there's so many just wonderful, lovely, inclusive, again, specifically in regards to like, the LGBTQ plus community and stuff. There's just so many lovely, wonderful, inclusive folks that we have found online. And it's wonderful, and I'm so happy that people are like,
goodbye, young man.
So nice and wonderful and kind and supportive. And I mean, you know, I guess that includes all of you here. You're all fantastic and wonderful and supportive and beautiful and stuff, but it's just great. So much of, you know, queer living is just constantly, I don't know, panicking about everything all the time, but having a good support system and people who are willing to like be there and like, I don't know, just be good folks. I'm rambling.
You saw what
happened? But no, I'm so happy for you, Bo, really.
I'm Dr. Reed, and I'd like to ask you a few questions, if you promise me to set your gun aside.
No. Look, I'm not a violent man.
It's gonna be all mushy today.
I'm Benjamin Palmer, doctor.
Right? It's the wholesome kind of panic, right?
Not even you.
It's great. Even when it's not the wholesome kind of panic, it's okay, because there's lots of us here for you.
What can
tell
you
me
tell
about
me
this
about
place, buddy?
Nothing to say, really. This is where I used to live, and this is where I live now.
You mean you used to have a better life?
Yeah, I had a wife, a home, and a job. I even used to have a name.
Don't you still?
I'm just Ben. Ben the Tramp.
That is a name, though. Do you want another name?
You don't have anywhere to go.
We can do that.
No family that would welcome you.
Not since the death of my wife,
Oh.
Albert's mother. She was sick, you see. Long before the flu and all this shit.
Wait, Albert's your son?
Perhaps you could focus.
Sorry, how did I miss that?
I'm
probably
sick,
being mushy
broke,
about
and my son just
friends.
stole my pills. Everything's coming up roses.
Oh, okay.
Whatever the boy did, I'm sure he didn't deserve a public execution.
I swear I didn't want to hit him. It's just that I'm sick in the head, you see, and the boy just frayed me last nerve.
I mean, that's not a great
What is it,
excuse,
Benjamin?
buddy.
It was the war, wasn't it?
Let's be all
Your
super
nerves are
dramatic.
shot, aren't they? I need some
Also,
answers,
not
Private.
mechalamia.
From one
Sorry,
soldier
I just
to
saw
another.
The
that.
doctors called me a liar. A coward.
Not mechalamia.
Put me in a straitjacket, locked me up. Finally, they sent me back to the front lines with a handful of tablets.
It's a pity that doctors still practice such barbaric methods.
Yeah.
It's a dishonor to our profession.
Now only the pills stop me thinking about this shit. To not hear the explosions. I'm even
mean,
scared
I
of the
have
dark these days.
played a little bit of the original Call of Cthulhu. I haven't played the newer one. I don't know if it's done by the same folks. Does someone want to look that up? Because I'd be interested to know.
Do you know Nurse Dorothy Crane?
I do want to play it at some point.
Have you heard anything?
It's funny, I've been
Just haven't had a
searching for it
chance to
too.
yet.
I need some pills. But the woman is a phantom, if you ask me.
Really? And why is that?
Word is she ain't real. She's a cover for some doctor who runs an illegal dispensary for migrants.
Oh, I mean, that's true. We know that. We've
A gun,
got proof of it.
alcohol, and a bad temper make a terrible cocktail, sir. Goodbye for now.
Excuse me. Goodbye!
This elixir will give you faith again.
Ma'am? I like your jacket.
Good evening, miss.
Good evening,
Oh, that's a
sir.
fox. That's a whole ass
I'm
fox.
interested in a miraculous cure for this unknown and deadly epidemic.
Actually, I am.
Then you have come to the right
Yeah,
place.
yeah.
The
I never
famous Swansea
finished it. I
accordion
never
is
beat it,
all
but I
you
did
need
play a
to
bit
keep
of
you
it.
in perfect health.
Oh.
It was a
Really?
lot.
Why didn't I hear about it during my studies? I'm Jonathan Reed, by the way. Dr. Jonathan Reed.
I
Ah, my
genuinely
brother has
don't
spoken
remember a
your
ton of
research,
it.
Sir. I'm Loretta Swanborough, and it's always a pleasure to meet a fellow
But yeah,
human.
I'd be willing to check out the newer one, I think. Because I heard that, like, the older one, from what I remember and from what other people have reported about late game, it's just
Tell me,
a
who
lot.
intrigues you most in Whitechapel?
The region itself is something to see, but I would say Camellia the mute florist who gives away her flowers.
Aw, I want to meet her.
What do you think of the locals?
Most of them are afraid or desperate. They all come to me eventually for my remedy.
I remember being in... I remember the very beginning of the game where you're, like, running into the building with the cult, and it was weird. And then I also remember getting stuck in an alleyway outside of, like, the hotel that you're supposed to be in. There was some old man just constantly accosting you about something, and I don't remember what. Yeah, you go loopy if you look at stuff.
Is there anyone I should avoid?
Cadogan Bates, without a doubt.
I think
remorselessly exploits poor migrants.
I think that's
as soon
Call
as
of
they get here.
Cthulhu. My memory of the time, like around the time that I played that, is extremely fuzzy anyway. So yeah, my my recall of what was going on during that game is bad.
Do you know
we're looking
Nurse
for
Dorothy Crane
Dorothy.
from the Pembroke Hospital?
Where is she?
I'd like to know more about her.
I don't like to talk about competition.
Competition?
They're not
Never
made by
met
the
her,
same people.
But it seems
Okay.
she provides some sort of medical care to the poor. The
Who,
whole thing has to be some sort of scam.
I guess
if you
I'm
ask
curious
me.
if the people that did Vampyr have done anything else. I'd play it. That's
I'd
strange.
like to
What do
see
you
what
got?
kind of medicine you're selling.
This is made by Don't Nod. I don't think I'm familiar with any of their other stuff. It's not a team that I can say I know about. Do we... Let's not sell any of this.
All the good boys join the army and the scum turn criminals. A shame.
We've already talked to Benjamin. Okay, seems like not a first game, but the first time they were given this amount of money. Yeah, yeah! I can see that. It's extremely ambitious, that's for sure. And I don't... Like I said, I really like it so far. It's interesting, the world. I want to be here in this world. I want to know what's going on. I just wish the combat was a little more polished. But even that, like, I'm getting used to it now. It's the lock-on. The lock-on's the main thing that I'm complaining about. Oh! Don't Nod did Life is Strange! Okay. Okay, alright. Alright. Okay. That makes a lot more sense. God, I need to revisit those. Good games. There's a new one just came out, didn't it?
What do you want? Leave me alone.
Good evening,
Sir.
I'm Dr. Reed. I'm looking for Nurse Dorothy Crane.
There is no Dorothy Crane here. Now goodbye.
I'm afraid this medical leaflet says the opposite, sir.
Really? Well, I'm afraid I'm going to close this door right now. Go bother someone else, Mr. Doctor.
To enter that house, I must discover who this man really is. Maybe I could start by observing what he's up to.
Sam begged me to stop. Why? Oh. You were just doing it bad. Fair. Nice. Yeah, I definitely need to play some more. Because I think I got through some of it. What's going on here? I got through the first Life is Strange, and then the whatever one has Storm in the title, I didn't end up playing.
I refused him entry.
Darius, how could you know he didn't need our help?
His clothes were too finely tailored to be for Whitechapel.
Perhaps just a friend of that stray poet who is always about.
Aww.
Richard Nithicott? No, not at
Good
the same
cries,
cost,
I
this
hope.
man. I suspect some machination from that journalist.
Clayton Darby. Is he still asking questions?
Didn't we talk to Darby?
Yes. I saw him drifting around St. Mary's Church. I swear he is tracking me just downwind.
Okay.
It's locked. I must talk to that journalist or the poet. They must know about Darius. Nearby the
so it's
church
off this way.
they just mentioned.
I'm pretty sure we talked to Darby already, though.
Come on, take a look. Don't be afraid.
Are you selling things?
Cheap price, good quality. Come on, take a look. Don't be afraid.
Oh my goodness. I can imagine that could be a little much at times. Probably in a good, could be in a good way though.
Hello, young man. I'm Dr.
Sir.
Reed, and I would
Why
like
is
to ask you
everyone
a few
greeting me
questions.
like this?
May I enter, please?
Sorry, no, sir. My father does not like people entering our house, you see.
Let me in!
Your father is worried about you, boy. He asked me to look for you.
So my father actually worries about me then.
No, that makes sense.
Come on in. I'm Harry, by the way.
Hello, Harry. Let me in.
Suffering in this world.
Buddy.
So, may I ask you a few questions?
I'm not bothered. What could be worse?
You're a wizard, Harry. I'm a what?
How do you feel?
I'm fine. I mean, it's not easy every day, but I'm fine. I'm just tired of being sick all the time.
I can
I
imagine.
know it could be tough, like... Well, you know.
Speaking of which, what can you tell me about your father?
My father is
so
an
wiggly.
idiot who makes idiot things. That's all I have to say.
Jesus, okay.
Forgive my bluntness, young man, but you don't seem happy living in Whitechapel.
Why should I? I never wanted to come here in the first place.
I think I have decided. Hold on, sorry, I gotta
Look around you.
reset in my
Does this
chair.
look like
I
a
think
nice
I've
place to
decided that
live?
I want to try and fix as many of the districts as I possibly can.
I can't believe you've done this.
I did it. We're gonna eat people sparingly, yeah.
You have a roof over your head, a place to call home.
I mean,
Many
we'll eat
people
every
here
single
are not as
landlord that...
That's exactly what my father says. Harry, you should be grateful for what you've got.
We'll
I
eat every
wasn't even
landlord we come
consulted
across.
When we moved here.
But... Oh, please don't. That's not why they're
If life
there.
here is so terrible for you, why don't you just leave this place? Have you ever spoken to your father about it?
Again, it's always very funny to me when they like...
Me so. I
when we're trying to get this personal information, we just get very intense about it. It's like, no one's gonna respond to that. But they do.
So that's why you stay at home all day? For fear of the epidemic?
I'm not afraid of disease or death, Dr. Reed. It's the living I'm afraid of.
Harry mood! Feeling very personally attacked right now.
Nurse Dorothy Crane from the Pembroke Hospital? I'd like to know more about her.
Yes, I know her. She came here to examine me when I was very sick. She said I should go out more.
Okay, well, that's all the information
Goodbye,
I can
young man.
get from him.
Take care of yourself.
Bye, Harry. Hey,
There's
can I
only pain and suffering in this
steal
world.
your shit? Can you move? Oh my god. Alright. Oh. Oh. Oh, I'm just gonna take your stuff. You don't need it. I mean, it's all mine now. It's fine. Did he say my dreams are soaked with glue? Nate, hello. Hey, buddy. You want to drink some water? It'll help. It'll help with that hangover a little bit. Am I gonna do a worst man in London run afterwards? No. Well, maybe. Maybe off stream. Also, thank you for the bubble, Jody. I guess depending on how long it takes us to get through this game, and if people are interested in it, we could do a run where we just eat everybody and see what happens. Good, good. Get some water. It'll help. Maybe even a couple of crackers. Get some food. But hello, welcome. Darby!
You are blinded by your false faith.
Excuse me, sir. Are you familiar with this part of town? Name's Clayton Darby. Reporter.
Found Darby!
Sorry, I'm new to Whitechapel. But perhaps you could help me since you're a journalist. My name is Jonathan Reed.
Dr.
I'm
Reed,
saying Darby, not
famous
Devo.
surgeon. I'll gladly help if I'm able, sir.
I am still planning on doing that charity stream at some point with, They're just sparkling. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's fine. But yeah, I am still planning on doing the charity stream for the Worst Man in Revachol run, with Disco Elysium. I just need to find a fucking charity, and, like, it's very hard. It's very hard to find, an addiction charity that isn't super religious-y. Or that is, like, queer friendly, and I would like to make sure that it meets those two prerequisites. And it's not happening, so it's gonna be a little bit. Not Sir Darby Chicken Caesar. Oh. Oh. That's what I want to try and do for this playthrough. I want to try and make sure that they're as healthy as possible, and then maybe at some point I'll go through it and just ruin everything for everybody.
Why are the newspapers keeping silent about the Spanish influenza? It's as though none of you care.
There's a war going on. People shouldn't be demoralized by news of deadly diseases.
But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. My only comment at this point is that the combat, specifically the targeting system, is garbage. It's a disgrace.
It's a disgrace.
He's not going to be happy with me, but
people
you know, it's
are
fine.
left to die alone. No one is properly informed of the risks.
These are bad times indeed. So much for the glorious British Empire.
I don't know. I don't know that the rest of the combat would be easier with a controller is the thing.
What is a journalist doing in this borough after sunset?
He goes where none of his colleagues would dare to go, to inform the
I'm also
country.
concerned that... Actually, let me... Oh no, don't okay, we'll finish talking to him.
These are...
We'll finish talking to him, and then we'll take a look at the controls.
What is a journalist doing in this borough after sunset?
He goes where none of his colleagues would dare to go, to inform the country.
Move it's one stick to... Move and one stick to lock on. Probably. But I don't know how the rest of the controls would work, and I've already gotten used to them on
I saw many reporters
on the
do the
keyboard.
same during the war.
Whitechapel is the crucible of so many untold stories and tragedies. I want people to know them.
It's fine. I'll stick with the keyboard and mouse and just complain about it, and you guys gotta deal with it.
But is the public interested?
Not at all, sir. And that's why I'm an independent journalist, hoping to sell some stories.
Okay. Alright, Darby.
Have you any idea of the danger you face in these streets at night?
I've had to run and hide more than once from frenzied mobs incensed by the fever. Do you think the flu is really responsible for this, Doctor?
Yeah, it won't fix the priority thing. I can get used to it. It's just unfortunate. Like I said, let's complain about, and y'all gotta cope.
That science is unable to explain the facts doesn't mean there is no rational explanation.
Sad
I confess,
faces.
I share your point of view, Doctor.
Okay, so that's everything I can talk about there. Personal questions? Hey, Darby. Can't ask you anything. About an underground medical dispensary.
I heard you're investigating an underground medical dispensary in Whitechapel. What do you know about it?
Not much, I'm afraid.
We just discovered that earlier. I was surprised.
Why do you care?
It makes sense though. Hold on, so I care about public
I'm a
health.
doctor, Mr. Darby. I care about
gonna lie to this man.
involving public health and this epidemic.
Are you sure you're
It's
not
fine.
just concerned about the repercussions that a scandal involving a certain nurse Crane from the Pembroke Hospital would bring?
Without a doubt, you are a damn fine journalist, Mr. Darby.
Woof.
What do you know of her accomplice, a man named Darius?
I don't know much about the man. He's very cautious, never goes out, doesn't seem to have any friends or family.
Okay.
He has
no
no
relatives?
relatives at all?
No, except for that strange man, a poet named Richard Nithicott, who sometimes comes by.
I'm trying to get through the conversation as fast as
Where
I
can I
can.
find this Mr. Nithicott?
He spends most of his
Darby's
time
quite
lurking around
spicy.
Whitechapel, talking to himself or declaring
He's definitely got some words for
You can
me.
easily find him behind the church.
He never goes out.
No. A few days ago, he unexpectedly did. I followed him, but it was just a ruse to keep me away from his house.
Really?
Oh?
How do you know?
He went to the nearest mailbox, but just before posting his letter, he ripped it up and threw it away.
Okay, can we... In 40 years he gives his glasses to young Elton John. Oh no! Okay,
Goodbye,
well look,
Mr. Darby.
we're done talking to
Farewell.
Darby. No more sparkly glasses. What is this man doing?
Forgive my interruption.
Do not apologize, my son. Father Tobias Whitaker is always happy to teach mortals about the incoming Armageddon.
Oh,
I'm
you're
Dr.
one of
Jonathan
those.
Reed, and I just have a few questions.
A scientist? You are much more lost than I thought, my son.
Oh my god, we're gonna eat him.
What do you mean when you say that I am more lost than you thought?
All scientists are entangled in a world of causes and consequences. And most of them can't see the plain truth.
Quite a judgmental opinion, if you ask me.
We're eating
But what do I know? Blinded by science as I am.
But you are seeking
Science!
answers, aren't you? Answers about the Armageddon about to strike the city. Answers about the hidden truth.
I only believe in
am.
facts.
But the answers I seek are based on facts, not superstition.
Do you have more to say here? No. Do you hear that? It's his impending doom. I am curious as to what he says.
I suppose I can spare a few minutes listening to your so-called
What not?
truth.
How crazy is this man?
Of a decimating epidemic. But let me tell you that this so-called Spanish flu is just the beginning of the end.
What do you mean?
Just you wait until 2020, my dude.
Corrupting the flesh and the heart of men. With my own eyes, I have seen them. Those minions from the abyss.
He's got a very nice voice.
Really?
It's true.
And what would be your answer?
I'd listen to Jonathan read the dictionary to me or something. I don't know.
But not with scalpels and microscopes.
What is left then?
Cleansing fire.
How
Tell
exactly?
me, Tobias, what exactly is your plan concerning the cleansing?
This man is planning on destroying this town.
More than once this city has risen from the ashes, hardened and purified by the flames.
Purification by fire has proved useful, but where do you stop? Burn the clothes? The buildings? The corpses? Worse?
Your lack of faith is predictable. But my task is to convince rational minds like yours to see the light. This is God's will.
You're mad and dangerous.
So we agree
You're
that I'm
nothing but
rational.
A soulless butcher. A
Yeah, you tell him. Yeah, you tell him, Jonathan.
Savonarola of Whitechapel.
My son, if you think salvation is a free gift, go listen to the lies of that pompous fool, Joseph.
Joseph, a fool?
Vicar Larrabee of St. Mary's Church. While he continues preaching his fraudulent redemption, more and more people die in the streets.
Can we... Oh no. I need level 5 to eat this man! I don't want to talk to him anymore.
I have heard enough for tonight. Goodbye.
We have got to increase our mesmerism skill so that we can do a chomp. Could also just burn the church down, though. He wants a cleansing fire. Oh, I can give him a cleansing fire.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Reed.
The best kind of
I'd
roast.
like to ask you a few questions. I know what you're thinking. A tall stranger who meets a girl in the street.
It's the flower
reeks
seller.
Penny dreadfuls. But I mean you no harm, truly.
Well, this could
I know
get
you understand
problematic
what I'm saying.
very fast.
Your silence has nothing to do with you being mute, does it?
Okay.
Very well. Goodbye then.
Can't. Okay. I'm harmless, said Dr. Vampire Scientist. I mean, we've been fairly harmless so far.
Cannot enter.
Okay, Jonathan, chill out for a second, buddy. All right. What's over here? Oh, not Dr. Cottage cheese blood. Oh, these boys are getting strong. Oh, fucking hell.
This is not a place for you, sir.
Yeah, I'm not here.
Step away, sir.
I've gone away. You can't see me anymore.
It's a leech. Kill it.
Fucking hell. Stop! I'm trying to get around you. I just want to go. Seems like it would be fine. Not even concerned. I mean, running into this? Into this face? In the middle of the night?
2 days ago, this is my first patrol.
It's fine. Can we... Awkward. Okay, mailbox is still up. I do want to find a hideout soon, though. Okay. I don't have a ton of experience.
It's locked.
Excuse me? Excuse me? Hey, game? Okay, maybe we'll go off to the right then. Hit up the hideout that's over there, and then go back towards the chapel? He's in your house at night. Doesn't matter. Dougie. Dougie! How's it going, friend? How are you doing? Yes, offer the cottage cheese vampire some ice cream. I'm sure he'd love it. See, I think we're misunderstanding the conversation a little bit. It's a matter of like, we know we gotta invite him in to get him in the house, but the issue is he's already in the house. How did he get in? The vampire came from inside the house. But yeah, how's it going, Dougie? How are you doing? Don't mind all of the very bad cottage cheese discourse happening about vampires. How do you feel about cottage cheese vampires? There's someone in there? That sounds puss. Yeah, it's been a tough week, so we're gonna eat a priest. Like you do.
Good evening, Harry.
I'm happy that you got off work early. Oh no, no.
Is there only pain
Unless this
and
is
suffering in this world?
Can I sleep here? Is that? No, I can't. I can't sleep here. I can't sleep here. This isn't my house. But yeah, it's been better, but we're doing okay. We're getting through it. It'll be fine. We did eat a racist landlord last week, and it was very good. Okay, where am I? It is... I only sleep in the nicest of homes. Harry, this will not do. Wait, where? I guess the hideout doesn't really matter that much, honestly. I mostly just want to find where all these people are. Get away from me. Get out of here, Whitaker! I love the music. Is very good. Nah, this game, I really appreciate this game. What's in here? If you are sick, if you have no money. Yo, yeah. Oh, we can talk to Camellia about that. Okay. Hey, ma'am. Hey.
Hello again, miss.
Hey.
Camellia, I know you work for Dorothy Crane.
Hey.
Please tell me about her secret dispensary. A stubborn and mute comrade. Nurse Crane and Darius Petrescu have been clever.
Jonathan! She is actually mute! She cannot speak to us! This isn't her just being stubborn!
Very well.
She
Goodbye.
physically cannot speak to us! Buddy! This fucking guy! Wow! Oh hey, we got a letter. We just got a letter. We just got a letter. We just got a letter. I wonder who it's from. Anywho, my dearest, most beloved children, I am so sorry you have not heard from me for a few months. Situation in London has been difficult. I know it may sound selfish and silly when you, my children, are still living in a country consumed by war, but there's also a war going on here in England. A war against poverty and against injustice. This is a war I intend to fight despite my advanced years. This is why I'm writing to you today. Travis! Okay, I can do a pirate voice. Also, welcome back, Emmy. Also, Jonathan, no knock knocks. Also, Dougie, thank you for the bubble and the contribution to the reading stream. Hey, if you haven't done it yet, contribute to the reading stream. Emmy, thank you. We're at 95%, y'all. Gonna happen soon. Alright. Pirate voice. How do pirates speak? Ferdy, you're the pirate expert, right? Nate, thank you for the contribution as well. Yar! I won't be coming back to Romania. That probably means I won't see you again before I die. Don't be sad, my darlings. You are grown up now, and you have children of your own. You know the sacrifice we sometimes must accept to make the world a better place. This is one I must make now, to feel useful one more time. Arr, 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 arr. I wish ye a long and happy life. Kiss my grandchildren for me, and remember that your father loves you all the way from this cold, damp country. I am, as ever, your loving father, Darius Petrescu.
The content of Darius' letter to his children could
Is that
give me
good?
more leverage.
Is that what you wanted, Travis? Did I do it? Did we do it good? Can I go inside? Cannot. Not allowed. Good, good. Ooh, hiccups. Ouchies. Okay, where else? Behind the chapel. How do I get behind the chapel? 7 out of 10 pirate voice. It's not my strong suit. I don't have to do pirates very often. We're in a vampire game. We didn't need a Dracula voice. There's plenty of Draculas around here. Pirate dad voice. I said Petrescu mostly because I'm basing it off on how you say Dimitrescu. Thank you, Mommy Vampire. It's not you. Even though I think there was a whole debate for a while going on where a bunch of folks from Slavic countries were like, no, it's Dimitrescu. But, I don't know. But in-game, literally everyone says Dimitrescu. And it's like, that's weird, but okay. I just roll with it. It's Big Mommy Vampire. Lady D. Get away from me. Get away from me. Get away from me. Get away! He did bite us, and it is illegal. Fucking hell. Nope. I'm gonna do a chomp. Mr. Worldwide himself. Let me just sing you all the stupid songs that I have in my head at all times. No! Stop! Nope, I missed. Stop it! Stop it! Get away from me! Get away from me! Stop! I need him to not ever hurt me like this again! Stop! I thought having more stamina was gonna help, but it only kinda has. It's fine. We did a murder. We did multiple murders. Everything is fine. Screaming stop helps. In case you were wondering. You just need to scream and whine as much as possible during combat, and the enemies will stop. Or at least be weakened. Their defenses will drop because they cannot stand the terrible, awful noises that you are making at them. And it's great. I don't know these references. I don't know any of these references. I thought you were a skull, and I was gonna try and do
Good
a
evening,
murder.
sir. I'm Dr. Reed. I would like to ask you a few questions.
Please be my guest. Although I may not be the best informant regarding this part of town, my words speak about that which the eyes cannot see.
Oh my god. Sorry. He's one of those poets.
Richard Nithicott, at your service.
I mean, his name is Richard, so what did we expect?
May I ask what you're doing at this hour of night, sir? Do you live here?
Not at all. I'm just enjoying the pleasure of a quiet walk. Though night talks are always preferable.
This man's mouth is very distracting in, like, the worst of ways.
But are you not afraid of the epidemic?
Oh, why should I? I see some equity in the Spanish flu. No flesh should be saved, say the scriptures. Good or evil, rich or poor, all are equal in the eyes of the flu.
I think that would make the rest of us real dumb, honestly. Sorry, I'm stretching my back a little bit, don't mind me.
If you say so. But as a physician in a time of epidemic,
I don't
must
know
caution you
shit.
to avoid unnecessary exposure, sir.
Thank you, Doctor. But we both know the seeker of truth has to go boldly where the weak dare not.
Also... You can be an artist without being pretentious. Not in 1914, though. Especially if you're a white man, then you have to be like, I'm so much better than everyone because I am an artiste. My artwork is my struggle against the world, and that's my impression of this man right here. I'm gonna stop before it gets out of hand. I write about what the eyes cannot see. Sir. Yar! I write about what the eyes can't see! Is that better? Oh, we've made terrible choices tonight!
On the terrible situation in the city.
Terrible, you say? No. Of course, the death of so many innocents is a tragedy. But the scourge has not been all bad for the city. Oh, no, sir.
What are you talking about?
Do you remember London before the flu? Noisy, cacophonic, quiet, nowhere to be found.
Oh
And
my
I
god, okay, I get
listen to
it.
this
You're like a
oddly
thesaurus.
silence.
I only see a dreadful
my mother
disease,
loved
my
poetry.
dude.
Perhaps your words would have touched hers.
If she didn't die!
I
Sorry.
only see a dreadful disease.
Most people fail to understand my perspective. I don't blame them. But how could I call myself a poet if I veiled my feelings?
I would play it instantly. In an absolute heartbeat, I would play a Lego version of Vampyr.
In this part of town.
Please.
But this is where I must be to feel the real beat of the city. I had to come,
Please.
see it for myself, alone.
Bono! Hi! Thank you for the raid! I'm totally normal. Hello, welcome. Hi. How are you? How are things? Thank you for getting that shout out for Bono. Doing more divinity. Nice. How are you feeling? I saw that you got your tooth pulled. I assume you're feeling better because you were streaming tonight. But yeah, oh no, Emmy, no! I have no carrots. I have... Fruity's gonna hate this. Ahigayo Switch controller? That's all I have to offer, I'm sorry. That and very bad pirate impressions tonight, apparently. I'm glad that you're feeling so much better. Good. Hi, friends. Welcome. It's good. Don't know what that means. Jonathan will do acceptable. I was gonna, after this conversation, I was gonna take a short break because I've had way too many liquids today, which is fine. Totally normal. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. I'm not gonna eat this kid. So, Allie, hello, welcome. I've decided that I'm gonna try and make the districts as healthy as possible, so we are going to do a chomp sparingly. However, we do have you know, an Armageddon and everything as Hellfire Priest lined up, to get a chomp, and it's gonna be great. See, look, Bono was eating folks for us. We got it covered. But yeah, let's take a very short break. Raiders who have come in, hello, welcome. For those of you who don't know me, we'll pop on over here real quick. My name is Kayshurrr. I'm an LGBTQ+ streamer who mostly focuses on horror and mystery games. Currently playing some Vampyr tonight. This is my first playthrough of it. I have no idea what's happening at any point ever at all. We do bad impressions and talk about vampires full of cottage cheese blood. So welcome. Bono and Raiders, if you guys need to take a short break because you've been streaming for a little bit, totally understand. We're still fairly early in on our stream, so I'll be here for a good while longer. I just gotta get up and take a short break. It's fine. Wow, game what? Okay. Game decided to pause for me, because it was like, you've been staring at this man for too long. Mamp, Mothers Against Many Chomps? Mothers for Many Chomps. But yeah, if you guys need to take a short break, go for it. Do that. It's gonna be fantastic and beautiful and wonderful. Let me get some music going on here for real quick. But yeah, we'll be back in like a minute or two. Get a snack, get a blanket, stretch your legs, get some water, take care of your dang self, and we'll be back. Alright! We back. It's good. Don't even worry about it. God, my hair looks so blonde in this light and I hate it. I should be getting hair dye soon. Hopefully, within the next couple of days. We'll see. No, I don't know what color I'm doing. It'll just happen. Don't worry. Also, I like this lore that we've created about MAMC being well-meaning moms that end up persecuting and villainizing marginalized vamps and vamp-adjacent communities. Burnt umber hair. Half gray, half pink would be super cute. I'm like torn between like 3 or 4 different colors right now. I have one that I would like to do, but I don't know if I'll actually be able to like find it. I don't know that all the colors would be great. All right, maybe we'll do it. I don't know. Split left, right, front, and back. It'd be a lot. Ugh, this man. This man. Alright. Bunno's hair is always super cute from the pictures that I have seen. Alright,
I understand your need.
Listen to this man be like, meh,
it's not safe
about everything. Some more.
I don't have many friends, Doctor, and my family despises me.
If some misfortune came upon you,
who will
would
help
be
this
here to
damsel
Well, you
in
for a start,
distress?
my dear Doctor.
Ugh. Gross. Okay. Let me stop talking to you forever, please. Please. Oh my God,
Tell
there's
me,
so
Mr.
much.
why seek inspiration in
Is
Whitechapel?
that in game?
The place is not beautiful per se, but how
weird
to
choice.
explain it? Stirring and challenging.
In what way, exactly?
The struggle by gaslight, the barren smiles, and the added hunger under the rain.
If you say so.
Such vibrant antagonism and vivid paradox.
Oh my
the stripped
God.
humanity raged across each street.
Vivid, of course, yes. And what about the poignant distress?
Oh yes, the poignant distress. You see what I mean, don't you? That's what I want to write about, and that's what Whitechapel is made of.
Bruh.
Do you not think it a little morbid?
I never said I
contrary,
wasn't
sir,
gonna eat him.
Whitechapel is full of life.
I never
full
said I
of
wasn't
beauty.
gonna eat him. I just said that we were gonna chomp sparingly.
Wonderful Camellia.
What can you tell me about it?
Not much. And that's the
For
beauty
me,
of it.
ooh.
She can't speak, you know. She's a locked mystery who exhales kindness and sweetness.
I mean, I would personally have an absolute killer time voicing a character like this. I can only imagine that he had a great time with it. Same with like the voice actor for shit, not Logarius. Ludwig. The Accursed. Horseman from Bloodborne. Nay, unintelligently. Oh, hi, llama. Devo, that's not your spot. Rude ass cat. Camellia is a mute florist. All the good unintelligible neighing. It's fine. Not the preps. Okay, let's...
Perhaps you're just afraid to find out the truth about your muse.
One day, perhaps, I'll ask her to come with me. But will she still be my wild flower of Whitechapel if she moves uptown?
We're 100% going to eat this man.
And have you ever tried to learn more about her? Where she lives? How she survives? Whom she may know?
Maybe I prefer she
Emmy and
remains
her-
an
and
enigma.
her K-dramas.
Reality can be so dull, don't you think?
Alright, this man needs to get God.
Did you know the mute florist is a member of a secret society?
No, I didn't. But I thank you for this information, sir. For it only enriches the mystery surrounding the precious Camellia.
I fear you are a hopeless romantic, Mr. Nithicott.
Neither of
Guilty
those
as
options were
charged,
great.
Dr. Reed.
Are you not curious? Is there not more you wish to know?
That girl has not an ounce of malice in her. Whatever she may be hiding, it's certain to be for the benefit of most, if not all.
Okay. I like the idea of her, but not her specifically. Literally every man about a supposed manic pixie dream girl. Literally every man that has ever come at me about anything ever. Barf!
May I ask you a few questions about the district?
Extraordinary part of town, is it not?
I'm gonna
I'll be glad
eat
to help
him!
if I
Y'all,
can.
I am going to eat him! I just want to get as much
Dorothy
information out of him
A
first.
nurse who lives in this vicinity.
And then we're gonna do a
Dorothy
chomp.
Crane. Oh, I love the name.
Hopefully. Hopefully my mesmerism is high enough.
Sounds very mysterious. But, sorry, no, never heard of it.
I'm gonna fucking eat him.
What can you tell me about an old man called Darius?
Darius Petrescu. Yes, I know him.
Oh, is that
At
how
first, I thought he was only a
Petrescu? Is
small
that how we
publisher.
are pronouncing it here?
I invited
Okay,
him
good.
to
Good
publish
to
my
know.
work, but his reaction was pretty clear.
Not interested in your
Not
type.
the heel
Darius is an old
boss!
political activist who takes delight in printing tracts and lampoons. Those communist activities only require mediocre writing skills.
That's... You say used to know. It's probably for the best that you used to know them. That's
I'll
a
leave you
horrible
alone,
combination. I don't like...
Darius is a bit less of a mystery now.
I
Should
don't
not-
like
Good evening,
cottage
And good evening
cheese in general. I don't like the consistency. I can't do a fucking chomp on him yet!
I'll leave you alone, sir.
As soon as we hit level 3, we're gonna fucking eat him.
Oh, Camellia, the silent an angel made flesh.
Sorry, we just found some dirt on this boy from Sycophant Publishing, Lavender Court, Camden Street, London. Dear Mr. Nithicott, thank you for sending your book of poems, Songs from the Defeated City, which we found as interesting and profound as we told you the first time we received it. Alas, in the terrible times our country is currently facing, you must understand that such title would be totally inappropriate for publication. Thus, since you still refuse to change your title and demand the full publication or none of your work, I'm sorry to announce you that Sycophant Publishing chose the second option. With kindest regards, A.G. Morris. Oh. Sorry, Travis. The next letter I read, I will do in a cowboy voice. Is that acceptable?
Morbidity can breathe its own beauty and grace.
This fucking guy, though.
It's not just disease.
Hold on, can I talk to him about that?
Good evening.
Hey, I found your rejection letter. Hey, I found your rejection letter. Hey, I found your rejection
You don't really
letter.
make a living from your scribblings, do you, Richard?
No, sir, I don't. I work so hard.
From your
I put all
scribblings.
my time, my energy, my devotion into the precise carving of words.
You should do something more useful.
Perhaps it's time to think about something more useful to do. I'm not sure that poets are what
Literally
London
only
needs
saying
at
this to him. Anyone
Men
else,
and
fucking
women
pursue
need
your
food
art.
for
You do
certain. A
you.
roof and safety.
Don't be a pretentious
How
asshat
narrow
about
is
it.
the mind of one who believes art is not as essential.
Allie
Goodbye for
Bono,
now,
thank you for the contributions to the reading stream. We are very, very close to
I'll
making
leave you
it.
alone, sir.
All of the points. Door's been unlocked. Fantastic. Alright, we gotta figure out how to get into... You didn't have a face for a second, Camellia. That was
Hello,
scary. Tell me about Richard Nithicott. Like how we're asking her all these questions and she can't fucking
Tell me
talk to
about
us.
Richard Nithicott. I understand he is quite fond
Sam,
of
hi! Thank you for the quote, Allie. For real,
Very
though.
well.
For real, though. We're only telling Nithicott over here to, like, stop it. Because he's a pretentious asshole and he needs to stop. And, like, honestly, his poems aren't even that good. He's just using big words because he knows big words.
I'm cheap and I'm clean, I promise.
Excuse me? Ma'am.
Don't be shy, handsome. What can Christina do for you?
I'm not looking for what you're selling. But I'd like to ask you a few questions, if I may.
The Baka
I'm
human.
a doctor.
Thank you for the follow.
To read.
All right then, but be quick, though I usually get paid when I open my mouth.
Ma'am! So saucy! You smell like a baka. Are those fish earrings? I think that's just her hair glowing.
Christina, have you been examined? The epidemic is spreading fast in London. You could be exposed. Or expose others.
I don't like doctors or hospitals.
It can
but I don't
be.
like you
It
asking
can
questions.
be. How's it go? Do you have a name you would prefer I refer to you as? I don't feel great calling you a baka all the time. But if that's what you're into. I mean, it could be feather earrings. I think it's just her hair glowing.
Considering your line of work, I assure you it is only a matter of time before you
goodness.
have health issues.
If it is going to happen, it will happen. Right
Jonathan!
now, I need money.
Jonathan!
That's what's important.
You can put your own life in danger. That's your decision. But what about your clients? If you're
it's natural,
contaminated,
honey.
you will put them in danger too.
And you think that would worry me? If you knew the men I deal with,
I'm
their
here,
health would
right?
not be
It's
what
not a
you'd
bug, it's a
worry about.
feature. Jonathan, we are not here to shame sex workers. Christina, you do your job. If you need anything, let me know. Maybe it's Maybelline.
Claims he will expose the crisis in Whitechapel to all of London. Do
Yeah,
you
she
believe
is.
him?
I believe Clayton's courage will erode with time, until he finally leaves Whitechapel to start another fight somewhere else.
Oh no, I'm out of soda. Oh. Yes, thank you. Sorry. For everyone who's new here, I offer content warnings for every single game that we play. Content warnings for Vampyr are there in chat, pulled up by our lovely mod Blown Apart. If you ever need them at all, !CW. They do show up in chat at regular intervals though, but yeah, that's there if you need it. Why the skepticism?
Why this skepticism?
How can you speak about starvation if you've never been hungry? Or about poverty? Or anything else you have never suffered from?
Are you talking from experience?
I've seen your type come here to get a good fuck in a cheap room or a dark alley before going back to their fancy houses in the West End.
I love her. Alright. Tell me about yourself.
Tell me about yourself.
Are you joking with me? People don't usually come to see me for conversation.
I have no interest in your work. I am,
That's
however,
a
curious
swear.
as to what led you into this career.
Short story. The war, exile, and England. This country is not as special. I've been refused many
Good
jobs
try,
because
Abigail.
of where I am from. I had few options left.
Fuck!
I always thought I was the master of my own fate.
Watch
But
your
now
profanity.
I know we don't always have control over our lives. I don't judge you.
You know, this money
Who's
is
that
not only for
Pokemon?
me.
It's
I have good
Pikachu!
reasons to
It's
need this money
Clefairy!
quickly.
Fuck!
Not your concern, Doctor.
Man, I miss Vines.
Goodbye, miss.
Fruity is learning. I'm proud of you, Fruity. Alright, let's find a way into Darius's house.
Fuck your chicken strips!
Jesus fucking shit. Why is that one so much much louder than everything else. Oh. I jumped. It doesn't need to be that loud,
Mr.
though.
Petrescu, just 1 minute, please.
You again. Go away.
Reason? Oh no. How do I? Okay, hold
Goodbye,
on.
Mr.
I'm gonna leave him for a minute. No, unacceptable, Sam. Is it a clip? Is it a clip? Whisper it to one of the mods. We can post it for you. Watch your profanity. Good, good. But yeah, you can send it to one of the mods and we can post it for you. And or you can post it in the Discord. Right though. Right though. I almost exclusively speak in Vines nowadays. It is my love language. Fruity, one day they won't scare you. One day. There's a train up there! Wait, look it! Friggin' bats! Love Halloween. I'm very excited for Halloween, though. Real talk, very excited about Halloween. Still gotta figure out what I'm wearing. Look at all those chickens. Okay, one of my all-time favorite vines apparently is like a deep cut that nobody has ever seen, but it's the one where it's the dude standing in the kitchen. He's like, alright, that's it, had enough, get on the fridge. And then the dude starts climbing on the fridge and he's like, this house is a fucking nightmare! All-time favorite vine. Well, one of my top favorite vines. And if you haven't seen it, you should watch it because it's very good. I feel passionately about vines. Where the fuck is this hideout? They are very shouty, and it works well for me because I am very shouty. There's our hideout. No, not whisper, Kaysh. I can't shout vines then. 7 love language, affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, physical touch, with the other 2 being vine. I have seen the films go bad. Alright, hold on, let me get this timer started so we can get ASMR Kaysh going. How is that? Is the volume okay? Boop, boop, boop. Alright, ASMR time. Hey, I like your accent. Where are you from? I'm Liberian. Oh, sorry, excuse me. I like your accent. Where are you from? Oh, no, Fruity. No, Fruity, you're a monster. Okay, hold on. I gotta open up voice mod. Sam, thank you for the contribution to the reading stream. I appreciate it. Can you guys still hear me okay? I don't... no credits. No. Okay. Okay, good. Okay, good. Hold on. Sorry, voice mod is updating. It's gonna take a second. Voice mod, no, like, it's... Okay, alright. There's an update. I haven't opened it in a couple of days. I'm sorry. Don't need voice mod when I'm doing all the voices on the weekends. Whisper voice mod cowboy. Probably got a spare letter in her inventory. Fruity, do you have a specific voice mod you would like, or would you just like a random one? Random it? Alright. Alright. I don't know how this one's gonna sound, but we're gonna roll with it. Alright, hold on a second. Gotta change the microphone. Yeah. No, it's 100%. I don't know how to. Okay. Does this sound okay? Is it fine? This one is called Party Time. You've also gotten an extra minute of, especially with Whisper Kaysh, you've gotten an extra minute for Whisper Kaysh. But hey, as long as it works. And you want a cowboy, right? You wanted a cowboy for a letter? Shall we find a letter to read? Because I don't think I've read all of these. Weaknesses of vampires? Does this work? K-Pain, oh no! Was not prepared for that one. I'm gonna read this letter real fast. As a cowboy, just for you, Travis. Leeches do not fear the sun or fire, and they do not burst into flames or ashes when they are caught under rays of daylight. But it hurts them good, real good. I personally chained a vampire to a tree to see what would happen when the sun rises. Its skin blackened in a few minutes as if it was burning from the inside. Its eyes and flesh melted, and I saw its unholy bones move and squeal as the beast tried to escape all day long. In the end, only a desiccated corpse remained, which started to slowly regenerate when the sun disappeared behind the horizon. I cut its head off to finally destroy it, and when I tried the same test with fire, the bloody leech never came back from the ashes. Fire is our weapon of choice, brothers. To turn the beast is the best way to kill it for good. From Know Your Enemies by Carl Eldritch, Pruin Leader. There's your cowboy redeem, Travis. I hope it was everything you wanted. Timestamp around. Here, I'll write that down for you. Happy to help. This is what I'm here for. This is what I'm here to offer. I'm glad it's what you wanted. I would like to find a bed so I can maybe upgrade my mesmerism. I would like to see if I can upgrade my mesmerism at the very least. You know. Gotta bookmark this voice mod. We like this one. I can favorite it. Like I said, it's called Party Time. If you want to redeem voice mods, we can either do a random one, or you can suggest one. It's all up to you. Can I not? I don't get to choose. Alright, that's Whisper Kaysh done. Whisper Kaysh is over. Oops, that's an hour. I want a minute. A minute left of the voice mod. But no more whisper. No more Whisper Kaysh. I don't gotta whisper no more! I tried to do that at least a little bit away from the mic because it looks like it's a little louder now than it normally is. I will never, ever be contained. Oh Also, it doesn't look like I can upgrade my mesmerism from here. Can... yeah, no. I would never, ever do that to y'all. Well, I say never. Would someone mind looking up how I upgrade my mesmerism skill? That's our second alarm, which means... we're all done. We're all done with the voice mods. For now. Knowing y'all, you'll make me do it again sometime soon. But we're done for now. Yay! Thank you, Bunno, for letting me know how that works. I was really hoping I could just get right? On it. They were on it. I super duper appreciate that. It helps a lot. So that I can just go ahead and spend all my points however I see fit. Perfect, fantastic, I love that. Let's increase our blood capacity. I don't think I can do anything else. I think everything else costs too much. Yeah, mesmerism banned. So we're gonna have to wait a little bit before we can eat the priest. But that'll just make it all that much more sweet when we are able to do a big old chomp on him and the poet. And God, how beautiful it will be. Does he always look like that? Because I would like it if he didn't always look like that. I can't eat the poet now, Emmy. I have to have a mesmerize level of 3, and I am currently at 1. I can't do an eat, and I would love to. I will not eat dick just yet. No, we will do a chomp as soon as I am able. Fucking hell. My God. Stop! I hate you! Chomp, chomp, Richard. We like it when they're less pukey, that's for sure. Maybe it was just the sewer boys that were so barfy. Hi. Devo, that's Lamia's spot. Hold on a second. Lamia, come here. Come here. Look. I washed your blanket for you yesterday. Appreciate it. Come on. Do you want to say hello to everyone? Come here. Ooh. It's Llama. She just says hello all the time now, don't you? Are you pleased? You say hello? The little belly. We got the good kitty belly. Yeah. Hey, I washed your blanket. Are you gonna lay under the desk? Should I give you some chin scritches? Here comes the boy! Hello, boy! It's the girl! Oh, Lamia. She's a good girl. I love you. That's just her face. I promise. She's got a bad case of of Rest in Bitch Face. I also love the Goblin song. Hi, D-Fooly, how's it going? We're just giving Lamia some snuggles. She is the wiggly potato baby. She's doing some happy karate on the back of my head. Nope, nope, now she's licking because I was scratching her. I'm gonna set you under the desk, and you're going to enjoy your freshly clean blanket. Boop. How are you liking Unfortunate Spacemen, D-Fooly? It's a fun game. Fun game. I think it's a fun game. But yeah, how are you doing? How's it going? Oh, I can see again. Okay. Hi. I need you to not be under my chair, kitten, or I'm going to roll over you, and that's not gonna be great. Not when you're doing so fantastic nowadays. Good. I'm glad. I don't actually need to do a murder on those guys, do I? Yes! Hey, if you ever want to play with someone, or if you need an extra person, let me know. I haven't played a ton because I haven't been able to find people to play with. But I'll play it with you. Yes! Yes! Perfect. Love it. Here for it. Yes! I'm alright, yeah. We're doing great. Everything is great. It's fantastic. Alright, what are we doing? Finding a way into Darius's house. I don't have mesmerism yet. Oof. I do need to do a chomp though.
This is despicable.
How many folks do you got so far? Ratty, come here. I need to do an eat.
I have this thirst for blood.
Jonathan, we know. I just need you to keep eating, okay?
This
there you go.
Despicable.
Yeah, well, we can't eat any of the people we want to eat just yet, bud. Oh, I probably should have made stuff. Upgraded a muffins. I feel like it must have gotten is like 10 or maybe 12. That's a lot of people, though. Coordinating that many folks for a single game is tough. Right, think about being better at mesmerism, Jonathan. Jonathan, we wouldn't be in this situation if you could just mesmerize people better, Jonathan! I'm just gonna needlessly yell at Jonathan. I'm sorry. I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed. Oh boy. Alright, can we... That's at 65. What happens? I don't have enough to do that. Okay. Oh, wow! No, I don't have enough to do that. Do I have enough to... I need more fucking common handle parts! Jonathan is a good yelling name. Just... Jonathan! Damn it, Jonathan! Jonathan! It's good. Oh no, what have we done? Okay, I can't upgrade anything because I don't have any handle parts, and that's frustrating, to say the least. So we won't do any of that. Is there... I only need the one handle, Jonathan! My god! Jonathan, can I disassemble stuff? I don't think I can. I should probably go see if any of those merchants have handles at some point, because I think this is where we've kind of been stuck the last couple of times of me being like, I need to upgrade this. Oh, I don't have enough handle parts. Where the fuck do I get handles? Not here, that's for sure. For certain. Alright. Well, whatevs. Happy heading home, Emmy! We'll talk to you later. Travel safely. I'm just gonna keep yelling at Jonathan! Ellie, are you still at work?
Mr. Petrescu.
You again?
Yeah, it's me again. Let's have a fucking man-to-man talk.
Wait.
That sounds
Stop
like a
this
yes.
nonsense. I know Nurse Crane is here. Shall we speak man-to-man, you and I?
All right. Speak up.
Don't you see we're on the same side? We fight to help the poor, sick, and abandoned.
I'm nothing like you, Mr. Doctor.
Yes, you are. You too believe in providing medical care without charge. You know what we have to sacrifice to make the world a better place.
I have to admit your words have conviction. All right, I'll let you see Dorothea. Don't
Thank you for
make
the alert,
me
Sam.
regret this, though.
He let us in! Oof! Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry that everything is dumb. When are you gonna do that?
It's locked, all right.
No, you got this. You can do it, you'll get it handled, and then you won't have to rush around near as much. Can I talk to you? Will you talk to me?
If you want to talk to Dorothea, you must go across the courtyard and take the stairs.
We've not been formally introduced.
Sorry.
May I ask your name
Itchy
and
shoulder.
occupation, sir?
I am Darius Petrescu. I'm here to keep snitches and spies away from Dorothea.
Oh.
And I also run this little print shop.
Lovely. Talk to me, buddy.
So Dorothy's real name is not Crane.
Like myself and many people in this area.
Probably because it
Dorothea is from occupied Romania.
Yeah, so that's a thing that happened when I turned off the anti-aliasing.
More than you can imagine.
Everyone's
The West
hair
End does
looked
not
like
want to
static,
hear of Whitechapel's misery.
but the anti-aliasing
Dorothea
is
one
why
of
the game
few
kept
doing
crashing.
something about it.
And so...
Tell me everything you know.
So we just gotta
about
deal with
Camellia, the mute
static hair.
florist.
I do not believe in the afterlife, Doctor, but I'm almost convinced Camellia is an angel. She volunteered to give
Diva,
out our
leave her
medical
be.
leaflets.
Are you not worried for her safety?
She is as brave as she is tough, and clever, too. If only I had met her when I was younger.
Are you in love with Camellia, Mr. Petrescu?
Can everyone stop being a creep on her?
If I had met her when I was younger, we could have won our revolution.
Okay, no, that's acceptable. His beard 100% has level 2 mesmerism.
Who is she, really? Do you know where she's
I'm
from?
jealous.
She's
Give
not
me
from
your
around
hair.
here,
Give
that's
Pop
all we
Pop
know.
your hair.
Camellia
Darius,
is
Darius,
not
give
even
Pop
a
Pop
name.
your hair.
It's her favorite flower.
You say she has no close family.
Well, there's that awful poet who constantly follows her around like a lost puppy. A good man for sure, but a very poor.
He's not a good man. Don't worry, Darius. I will take care of him. As soon as I have learned how...
Did you
eat
refuse
him.
to publish Richard Nithicott's previous works, Darius?
Yes. His manuscript
I don't
is as
see
pompous as he
I don't see the
starched.
Clint in him.
No, there's a man who loves the sound of his own voice.
You could have told him so.
As a
my
great
God, sorry.
writer
My
recently said,
glasses are
politeness
fucking filthy.
is the most acceptable hypocrisy.
I need to buy some glasses cleaner because my cloth is not cutting it. Is that better? No, you're still so smudgy. Okay. Just the facial hair? Okay, yeah, no. Okay. That I could see.
Tell me everything you know about Camellia, the mute florist.
I do not believe in the afterlife, Doctor, but I'm almost convinced Camellia is an angel. She volunteered to give out our medical leaflets.
Oh. Tell me more about her?
Tell me everything you know about Camellia, the mute florist.
I do not believe in the afterlife,
Oh wait,
Doctor.
you've already talked about this. Okay. Oh.
Goodbye, Mr.
Oh. Do I need to do a need on him? No, Darius is a nice man. I'm not gonna eat him. We can pretend though. Where is... She was in this one, wasn't she? Right, we can't blame him for how he looks. I mean, we could pretend even more. But no, Darius is a nice man. He's trying to help folk, and I appreciate that. I don't like this music. Oh, what's this? London, 31st of October. My dear Dorothea, when you read this letter, I will be on the boat that will take Anton and me back to Brasov. England was not for us, and I confess I cannot wait to see again the proud hills of Transylvania. As soon as we are there, I promise I'll light a candle in the Black Church and pray for you to survive this terrible epidemic. No voices this time. I know that you do not agree with this decision and that you are determined to be more useful by helping our comrades exiled in the East End, but Anton cannot wait to return to our beloved country and see our long-awaited revolution bloom. He is my husband. I will stay by his side. I know we had our arguments and our fights. I know you would have wanted me to stand by your side and help you manage this clinic of yours, but I'm going on holiday to Transylvania. Gotta find ourselves an actual vampire. I know you would have wanted me- or wait, but now that I'm leaving England, be assured that if anything would happen to you, if you ever were in great trouble or danger, I would come back immediately to London with or without Anton. Please think of me as much as I think of you. I am your affectionate sister, Theodora. Aww. Aww. Gotta get Raven's poster back. Gerard Way is just so hot. Yeah, you can wait a second, Dorothea.
He's going into convulsions, Doctor.
Hang on, hang on. Oh,
what do we have here, nurse?
Patient Raz Van Vasily. High fever running on 3 days. Complaints of dizziness, muscle aches, and head pain. Diagnosed with influenza.
That's what happens when you have a
Aspirin
high
and
fever for
the
3
fever and
days.
discomfort. Liquids for dehydration, but he's having trouble keeping even water down.
Anything else?
Thank you, nurse. Anything else I should know?
He did lose consciousness this morning, but he's never had convulsions like these.
He's not convulsing, he's choking. He's not getting any air. Scalpel! Hand me that scalpel!
What can I do, Doctor?
Hold him still. No, we just gotta do it.
I need to perform a tracheostomy. Short pipe. That rubber tube will do. We're going to cut a passage for air through the neck.
Yes, Doctor. He's breathing again, but he's coughing up blood.
Internal hemorrhage. I need to make another incision into the chest cavity to drain the fluids from the lung. Prepare
Don't be
another
Dr.
tube.
House.
A thoracostomy. Doctor, we've nothing to fight the infection. We need an aseptic environment.
Right then, Nurse Crane. What do you suggest we do?
I've no idea. I'm not the doctor.
Time is
Then
of the
don't
essence.
fucking
We need to
question
perform a
me!
thoracic drain.
Yes, Doctor.
God! I get that it's not great. He's gonna die either way, so we might as well fucking try.
He's still bleeding, Doctor. I'm losing his pulse.
The drain must have punctured the intercostal artery. There's too much blood.
Well, drink up. Drink up, Johnny boy. Oh shit! No, I didn't actually mean it! Oh! Oh! Oh, she fucking knows! Oh!
I must first suture the artery. Find the wound.
No!
The source of the blood.
Needle and thread, Doctor.
Good. The stitches are holding. How's he doing?
We're losing him.
I
We
can't
lost
do
his
it while
pulse.
she's
He's dying,
watching.
Doctor.
Oh my god, I'm dying. I was just cardiac massage him.
Now.
Cardiac... What? Are you making this up as you go along?
No. I don't fucking know. I don't know. Nobody did anything. You just stood there. Okay. Well, we fucked that up.
We've lost the pulse. He's gone, Doctor.
Nurse, we did everything we could.
Truly?
We didn't, though!
Everything you could.
You're supposed...
Is that how you'll report this in your log? Is this how the war went? Piling up one poor corpse beside the next?
Dorothy
This
needs
was
to
not
back
an
the fuck up.
influenza-induced seizure. I've never seen symptoms like these on the
He was turning into a skull. Let's be real. That's what those noises
Neither
were.
have I. But the previous symptoms leading up to this attack were the same, indistinguishable from the epidemic.
No, it was something more vile.
It has like a little bit in it, doesn't it? But not enough for it to like
There have been
do
numerous
anything.
reports of mental breakdowns caused by the fever that accompanies the flu itself, Doctor.
Yes, but I'd best take some samples of the blood for analysis.
I'm just annoyed. Told him to do a cardiac massage and they just stood there with their hands on him. Not moving those hands. That's not how you do that.
I doubt you're here to test my bedside manners.
Yeah, epinephrine is what an EpiPen is.
To what do I owe this courtesy?
It's locked.
Oh my god. Okay. Do you have anything to say to me?
I suspect it was more than intuition alone that led you to us.
I mean, 100%. I think it was all fucked up.
Dr.
But I'm just
Lee?
saying, it was annoying that I was like, "Hey, you gotta do cardiac massage," and they were just like, "I'm just gonna stand here."
I've come to put an end to this insufferable blackmailing, Dorothy.
Doctor, you think your warnings scare me? I've stolen and lied, blackmailed and lied, but what else am I to do? I'm all
not.
these
I'm
people
100% not a doctor.
But why
so Dorothy's
Lady
the-
Ashbury? Why her, of all people?
Jonathan's
She's
the one that fucked it
pristine
up.
and
I just
proper,
told him what
all
to
right.
do.
But that she-wolf in sheep's clothing murders the poor for sport. I have her where she belongs, and I'll milk her for all she's got.
Don't. Don't.
Dr. Swansea is a sensible and honest man. He wouldn't have refused your friend's care at
Not bonitis.
It's easy for you to say, Doctor. These people cannot go to the police, nor to the hospital.
nice to her,
They don't
Devo.
even speak English.
Hold on.
They
Sorry,
depend
they're
on
being
me for
cute right
everything.
now? I need to take a picture of them being cute. Mama. Devo. No, you were supposed to stay there. No, that's not what you're doing. Devo was laying in Lamia's spot, and she came over and sat there, and they were both just fine with it, which is great.
So,
Because usually
the
she gets
end
mad when he's
justifies
near
the
her.
means. Is that your defense?
I'll post the picture later.
I know you're kind, Doctor. Just another fine-heeled, silver-spooned gentleman who was given the world on a platter. You
Lay
know
down,
nothing
Devo.
of poverty. Nothing of the shame, the hunger, the loneliness.
I mean, sure, but like, also the blackmail's gotta stop.
You've convinced me of the sincerity of your actions and their noble justifications. But all the same, blackmail is a crime, and it will stop, Nurse Crane.
So, are you going to turn me over to the authorities?
Are you gonna make me? Oof! I don't like either of these. Fuck, okay. Young Christopher Lee. I can see it 100% and I love it. You resign. Yeah, I don't want to eat her. I was just trying to think if there was a way for me to like back out and like
jailing you would be an even greater crime.
Discuss anything, but she's doing good work here and it's like
here is my proposition.
Just leave your job
I'll
at the
look the other way on your little enterprise.
Yeah, he's got
In
it.
exchange, you will resign from the Pembroke Hospital.
We need to watch some
Provide
Hammer
me with
films at
medical
some point,
supplies
speaking
when the
of young
need
Christopher
arises.
Lee.
To read? That sounds like a business proposition. My accomplice, then?
No, just a privileged client. My research may require the occasional rare piece of equipment or ingredient. I'll pay good coin in exchange, fair and honest, to help finance your noble endeavors.
We have ourselves a deal, Doctor.
Yes! Success. We've done it.
Good customers are always welcome.
Yes, Nurse Crane. We have a deal.
New mesmerized level. We're not gonna eat her. I do wish I had. No! Stop! 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 You're a bad man! No! What do you have? A knife! I don't know where that grenade went. I don't think we can eat Richard now. I think we need one more level. Okay, let's do a fucking chomp. Did they... Because if you could just kill the villains right away, then there would be no game. Also, how dare they? I need to be better about picking up the stuff that enemies drop. Because I'm sure they will have... You're dead. They might have, like, the handles that I need. Okay, alright, let's go. Oh, hi! Oh, hi! Ouch!
Filthy piece of shit!
Rude. We both missed. It's fine. Stop! Stop! I'm trying to kill this boy! Okay, problem solved. Right? So rude! No. No. No! Stop! Okay. Alright. Alright. It's fine. Again, he ain't got shit now. I'm getting used to the combat, so I'm a little happier about that. Door has been unlocked. I gotta go report back to Lady Ashbury. Ashbury? Let's go. Wow. Yeah, I wish I had, like, been able to talk to her more about the letter that I found, but I don't think that there was really an opportunity to do so. We found the letter, and then we got stuck in that terrible attempt to try and save the guy. And then it was like, oh, nope, we gotta talk about this proposition now. So it's unfortunate, but I'm happy with how that went down. At least with Crane.
Human blood. Whoever left these marks did so deliberately.
What I'm hearing is it's a tarp.
Kill it, boy!
Okay, but can you like... Oh, it's a boss fight. Oh, this is a problem. I was stuck on a... Stop! Trying to dodge those stupid arrows? Kinda difficult. Stop! Do a chomp! Ornstein and Toby. No, you did it bad, Jonathan. Jonathan, come on, bud. You got this. Oh, you're just gonna keep summoning little guys. Okay. Oh my god. Oh, that's the wrong button. Yeah, it was really Jonathan. It's a stupid fucking lock-on system. Get away from me. Oh my god. Oof. I would like to not be in the corner. Please and thank you. Stop. Stop. Hit him. Go. Boop. They do fart. They go. Gotta get a chomp in there. Gotta do a little bit of noms. Yeah. Oh. It's fine. We'll get it eventually. Probably. Oh my god, stop! I have no stamina. Stop! Right? It's just they keep summoning these stupid little guys, and I need them to stop. Alright, Vincent's gone. And he's dead. Okay. It's not even a problem, you know? It's like totally fine. Let's get a chomp in there, just for good measure. Not even an issue. He had handles in him? Good. Good. I need me some fucking handles. I think we're still one short, though. Oh, handles. Nah, handles for crafting. Need them crafting handles. This is a useless building. Okay. I would like to get back to Lady Ashbury, please. Oh, I know where we are. The bad skull is up there. And here's the hospital. Lady Ashbury, where are you? I have resolved your blackmail situation. Ashbury? Are you doing a chomp in there? Oh my god. Done it so bad.
I would ask you to avert your eyes, sir. Or did you not know it was rude to stare?
I knew it.
Speak up, Dr. Reed. I like a man who speaks his mind.
Hiding your true appetites behind a facade of compassion. Bravo.
Awkward,
Very
for sure.
clever indeed.
Spare me your sarcasm, Jonathan. You are but newly born in this world.
So in the end, the accusation was true, wasn't it?
Oof. The situation is somewhat awkward nonetheless. I have not been observed sustaining myself for many decades. I have to say I'm a trifle embarrassed.
You should
anyway, I have concluded my inquiries concerning your blackmailer.
I see. Please excuse my agitated state. Under normal circumstances, I wouldn't let anyone see me in this condition.
I must confess I have not put an end to the blackmail, my lady. Unfortunately, I could not bring myself to do it.
I'm so disappointed in you, Jonathan. I didn't expect this from you.
Lady Ashley,
well,
you yourself admitted
that's on
how
you.
ridiculous the sum of money was. I can assure you it was all used for charitable ends.
Well, you are full of surprises, aren't you, Jonathan?
I can't believe you've done this.
All right. Say I trust you. But you will still pay the ransom. That is only fair. After all, it was you who failed to bring this problem to a satisfactory conclusion.
I believe I could agree to that.
And since a lady always keeps her promises, I will now answer any questions you may have.
Oh my god. Alright. I'm not about this lady as much as I was before.
Why does Dr. Swansea allow you to feed on the patients of the hospital?
Dr. Swansea is a good and compassionate man. He is trying to find a solution for our hunger. Until that happens, he is clever enough to understand that I only feed upon
She
the
seemed
dying.
cool though beforehand. She didn't seem like a total conniving bitch, but here we are.
What do you know about this Brotherhood of St. Paul's Stole?
I'm gonna ask how old she is.
The Brotherhood is well known amongst London vampire society. As long as our kind is discreet, and as long as they do not interfere.
I don't know. My heart is still set on Edgar.
We have come to a mutual understanding.
Is he finding a solution for a thrust, though? Oh, thirst. Sorry. Whoops. Whoops!
And no one suspected you of the murders.
No, no, he's not. Edgar's just
recently fallen on me.
Edgar's our boyfriend. He's only helping with it.
Jonathan. I take no pleasure in taking life.
Oh boy. I'm gonna ask how old.
I know this is beyond the pale.
How old she is.
But may I inquire your age?
Yes. Allie? Yes.
I thought you were gentlemen. If you must know, I'm 27. I've been 27 for a long time now.
Right? We finished our thirst game. What do now?
Very well. But I believe there is more to this than you are saying.
To be fair, Grim Grimoire for me is like a mild thirst game. It's more just everyone here is pretty and I love them and I want to hold all their hands.
And who bestowed upon you this?
And I ship Lilith and Amaretta so hard.
My maker.
My
left
OTP.
this isle a long time ago.
Alright, let's...
Why did you save me in the canning factory?
I could hardly stand by and watch such a promising young blood as yourself be torn to shreds by some gutter scowl.
Promising?
William Bishop wasn't the vampire that created me then?
No, Jonathan. Whatever their strength and demeanor,
most
scowls are the progeny of careless vampires. It cannot be the other way round.
Okay.
What type of vampire is a scowl?
Not a true vampire. The deformed offspring of lesser vampires.
So
it is a shame these creatures run wild,
so they're
slaves to their baser instincts.
Back.
I've been away from London and England for 3 years. This isn't the city I remember.
Things have gone from bad to worse here, Jonathan. I've lived in this city for a long time, and I've never seen it like this.
The Spanish flu has hit London that bad?
Yes, but it's not just that. I've heard things. Things I've not heard for a very, very long time. There are whispers in the shadows.
Whispers.
Something far worse than the Spanish flu is here in the city.
Yeah, it's vampires. Ma'am, it's vampires.
What is it you fear?
Fear has long since flown this form. But there is something malevolent circling us. I feel fear is merely waiting in the wings.
Okay,
When I awoke,
tell me about the vampire hunters.
I was chased and attacked by vampire hunters. Prepared and well-trained.
Though I can't be certain.
Enough.
More than likely, it was the once glorious Guard of Priwen.
Is it a cult?
You make them sound like some sort of cult.
More a society. And like all the best
society,
ones,
cult.
A secret society. I thought the name was gone. But it seems they have been recruiting.
Once glorious, but still
potato.
dangerous.
They have seen better days, but all fanatics are dangerous. You would be wise to stay clear. They are sworn
Still
to
a cult, though.
Kind.
Still a cult. No matter how fancy they are.
Are there many vampires here in London?
Immortals are of a rare breed, and we often tend to hide. But you may occasionally meet some of us at night.
Do you know any of them? Have you an idea of the identity of the vampire who attacked me?
You mean your maker? No, Jonathan, I have no clue. But I fear he or she is as careless as cruel. To let you discover your new condition by yourself.
What do you mean?
Every now and then, you may discover an immortal in the deep of the night. But we are a rare and reclusive breed. Our progeny is almost never accidental.
Will they all be as affable as you, my lady?
I do not see why not. But remember, even the shark smiles before he bites.
That sounds like a lesson from experience.
Vampire politics are as intricate and sometimes tedious as a game of chess in a gentleman's club. I've learned from experience it is best to decline to play.
Okay.
I've been hearing a voice talking in my
God,
head.
let's get some exposition dumping going.
Is this some kind of insanity? It feels like the voice of the vampire that created me.
Hush. Tell no one this. It would be unwise to talk of such things amongst British immortals. Speak no more of your maker.
How could this cause offense?
Only the powerful immortals can mentally call to their progeny. No vampire or hunter will sleep easy, knowing that an unidentified elder is stalking the streets of London.
Alright, well shit.
Excuse my forwardness, but are you my maker?
Me? Goodness no. Only a foolish immortal would create a progeny without taking precaution, and I'm no fool.
Debatable! Sorry. Just...
A vampire?
She's
what
put me off a bit.
We are.
Such a crude word, defined by penny dreadfuls and drunken hacks. No. You are now an Ekon, and that you shall remain.
So we are Ekons. How can I identify us amongst other vampires?
We're just snakes. Surprise.
To put it. All Ekon are vampires, but all vampires are not Ekon. We are but a branch of the immortal tree.
Okay.
Are you an Ekon too?
Yes, I am. We are the closest thing to what man refers to as vampires.
Give me that lore.
Forget what you think you know about us.
Snoke. Snoke
I don't
backwards.
understand. Why was
Hello, I am Jonathan Reed. I am a
dead?
Snoke.
That is a question only the one who made you can answer. It's not normal practice. I doubt even if you find him, he will answer you, considering how cruelly he treated you.
So me being a vampire...
She's gonna tell us how we make vampires!
I very much doubt it, Jonathan. Contrary to the legends, it is not as simple to make another vampire by just biting someone.
I'd like to avoid creating another vampire by mistake anyway. Tell me, how is it done?
The process is dangerous. It could even kill your potential progeny.
Right? Can I make
if you did decide to sire
vampire?
an offspring, they must drink of your blood, Jonathan.
Edgar baby, got a question for you.
I bid you farewell.
Want to learn all about vampires?
Analyze the blood I took from Nurse Crane's patient.
Apparently, we drank someone's blood. Let's... Somebody's groaning. Let's go analyze the blood. We oops drank someone's blood. Either that or, well, could be that someone forced us to drink their blood. No. Not Gothic. Not Gothic. Craft. Oh, can I analyze? Oh. I can make that. Cannot make that though. I don't have any watery, brisk blood samples. Guess what we can do? It's gonna be great. Okay, do we want increased damage dealt? Decrease stamina consumption. Decrease stamina consumption. I would love to do more damage, but I would also love to use less stamina. Beautiful.
Razvan Vasily was infected by Spanish flu, but also has the highly unstable blood of the Scowls. The flower's dying. It needs water.
How do I water it? A six-handled...
The flower's dying.
Six-handled, thing? How do I water it, though? Hey? I would love to... I also wish that this whole menu... I'm not gonna pee on it. Farley, leave her be. Leave her alone. Go on. Stop being a turd. She's sleeping. Hi. Would you like to say hello to everyone? Come here. Farts! Eee. Look who's a big boy. Look who's a big boy. Big boy. Big fluffy boy. That's you. Farts? Alright, you're up here. What are you gonna do now? Huh? Hi, handsome. I just need everyone to see your beautiful face. That's all. Okay? That's all. Big fart. Mwah. Down you go. Oh, okay. Well. Oh. Okay, so it's something that I have to, like, pick up and find later on. Good deal. Yeah, Farley has an issue with me picking him up. He doesn't like to be picked up in general because he's a large boy, and he knows that he's large, and then he freaks out that he's gonna get dropped. Alright, so we'll put a hold on looking for vampire blood. Let's go ahead. That could be pretty good. That uses so much points, though. Okay, block your target's blood in their veins, making them defenseless. Mood. He's a good boy, he's just large and uncertain. And I get that. I understand that. Okay, can I... That needs 600. That also needs 600. Blood capacity? Big thirst! That describes me! Okay. I like what we've done here. So let us... As of late, the rumors that surround Whitechapel are ripening into facts. In the last 3 months, the police have suspected the district of hosting what might be the heart of London's medicinal black market. But of course, these suspicions will remain assumptions, for no task force or additional police presence has been sent to Whitechapel. No large drug stocks have been found, nor no crime lords arrested. The masquerade has only been planned as a desperate attempt to conceal the blatant incompetence of the London City Council's Board of Health by giving the populace a cheap and easy victory while the epidemic spreads more and more each day. Worst of all, when you take time to review the most recent statistics, you discover that the district of Whitechapel is coping with the disease much better than other parts of the city. Is it a miracle? Evidence of the activity of an illegal but efficient medical underground? More proof of the authorities' criminal incompetence? All I know is this. If a Londoner has a better... Hey! No! Leave her alone. Go! No, if you're gonna be an asshole, you gotta go away. Go! Not gonna have him bat at Lamia when she's not doing anything. Current mood, mac and cheese and peas. Sounds delicious. All I know is this. If a Londoner has a better chance to survive the epidemic by choosing to live in this godforsaken borough, I am ready to move to any cheap flea-infested flat some shady landlord will agree to rent to me right now. Farley's a bit of a bully sometimes. It's mostly that he wants to play, and unlike Mork or Devo, he's not super aggressive about it, but he's so fucking big that, like, and she's so small. Lamia is so small, and he is so big that he'll, like, smack her, and he'll hit her really hard and not know that he's hit her so hard. Ooh, ice cream! Very nice. But yeah, so it's just like, Farley wants to play, but he's just also a dummy. Enjoy the ice cream vicariously. Enjoy the idea of the ice cream. Boyfriend! Wait. Okay, you are Edgar. You looked weird.
Evening, Edgar. Could I get your professional opinion?
Please speak. But I have something important to tell you.
This strain of flu. It's very different from the one I saw
Run into
in
a
Europe.
room and just go,
It's
partner!
Really? What makes you say that?
I support this. Analyze the
I've
blood.
just looked at the blood of one of our recently deceased.
Oh, I'm out of drink.
I see. Do you have anything
Gotta
more
pee
to
again
go on?
too.
This disease spreads and looks like the Spanish flu, but its effects differ greatly. The London strain is different from the continental one.
This is very interesting. Did
Farley,
you find
I
anything else?
swear to God. Go lay down.
Yes. Unlike the
I don't know
flu,
if I actually
the
have anything
infected
to
begin
share,
to show an
but-
increase in outwardly aggressive behavior. More than simple agitation. Once docile people become violent.
You mean like rabies? Is there a chance we could create a vaccine, Jonathan, like Pasteur? By the stove, that would be smashing.
There's a lot we're not seeing here.
Nerd boy.
But it is spreading, and quickly.
Sweet nerd boy.
If we don't act, the whole city could be lost.
But Jonathan, we've a fantastic
Smashing.
opportunity sitting right here in front
Right,
of
your
us.
nerdy posh
A
boy.
weapon
We love
of
him.
choice.
We love Edgar.
What on earth do you mean?
Why, you, my dear boy. With your expertise and your blood,
I'm
we
with
could
your boy.
isolate the properties that course through your veins. Think about the possibilities.
And why not? What did Stoker say about the children of the night?
Lol.
Well, using my blood, I could create a whole army of vampires.
Jonathan, no.
Surely you're joking.
We'll discuss this more later. Thank you for your
It was
time.
a joke, I promise.
No, thank you, Jonathan. But as I said, I needed to talk to you.
What's up, my boyfriend?
I have some rather bad news.
Oh.
Yes?
I'm afraid it's your sister.
My sister?
Oh.
She's to be buried.
Yeah.
This evening at Whitechapel Cemetery.
Oh no, I know about that.
Your mother published the obituary this morning.
I see.
No, no,
I'm sorry.
I am aware.
Please accept my condolences.
It's okay. It's fine. Oof. Yeah, about that, bud. I may have been aware of that ahead of time. It's right. Well, it's really unfortunate. I gotta go. All right, that has saved. we will call it here because I feel like anything else that we do is going to be, is gonna take too long. So we'll just call it there.
Spooky, scary skeletons and shivers down your spine.
So loud.
Shrieking skulls will shock your soul, seal your doom tonight.
So unnecessarily loud. It's great. It's fine. So yeah, we'll call it there. We'll pick this back up on Wednesday. We're also gonna start, we're gonna start Bloodstained Wednesday afternoon. So if you're interested in that or just want someone to hang out with you in the afternoon, let me know. No, Terry! Sorry, buddy! We're ending a smidge early because we got to the point in the game where it's like anything that we do is gonna take too long and we're gonna go way over time and I need to get up and stretch my legs and use the restroom and grab some food and just generally take care of myself. Excuse me while I burp. Farley! Leave her the fuck alone! Go! Absolute monster. But we love you, Terry. Hi, it's nice to see you. I hope you're doing well. Let me get the raid messages up. So if anyone wants to come along on the raid with us, we can. But we do gotta figure out who to go say hi to. So let me see. We got ATM0 doing some Tales of Arise. D Foley's doing some Remnant from the Ashes. Game Mod's doing some Breath of the Wild. Calvi Berry is doing some Ocarina of Time. Y'all wanna go hang out with D Foley? Or do you got any suggestions? I'm also always down for suggestions. Hi, Terry! Bye, Terry! Yeah, we cool with D Foley? Oh my god, now Devo's screaming at me. Alright, let's start a raid for D Foley. Go say hey to them.
I don't
like,
know.
sup, buddy? We love ya. As always, thank you everyone for being here. Again, I'm sorry, Terry, that you got here just in time for us to end stream. Yeah, we'll be back on Wednesday with some stuff. It's gonna be great. Don't even worry about it. Take care of yourselves. I love y'all, and we'll see you later. Bye!